Hi, Kathleen Crichton again. I'm out in my garden this morning. As the spring progresses, the Easter lilies are done. Right now we have blue plumbago in bloom in the garden and some yellow chrysanthemums. And you normally see chrysanthemums in the fall, but if you're lucky they will come back again and bloom for you again in the spring. So we have a little touch of fall here with the spring, but we have a garden here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit to and about the congregation of the First Presbyterian Church of New Orleans. 5 weeks after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, on the first Sunday in October, which was called World Communion Sunday, the congregation of First Presbyterian Church had its first worship service after Katrina. Where did they worship? Not in the church. The church had 29 inches of water standing in the sanctuary for weeks. The church worshiped right here in my living room. There were 13 there in worship. So while other congregations were huddled over in Houston and wringing their hands and wondering what they were going to do, we were having communion up in my living room. We had a little portable organ and we had the organist playing, and we had hymns and we had communion and we had a worship service. That's the congregation of First Presbyterian Church. That's what they're like. The pastor at that time was Reverend Cliff Nunn, and he sent out an email to folks and he said, "Hey, we're going to Kathy's house. She's got air conditioning." And I'm like, "Cliff, I'm not sure I got power yet." But I did, and we had air conditioning, so we had worship. And we continued to worship here in the sanctuary, not in the sanctuary, but in my house for 4 weeks, until it finally got cool enough that we could use the upstairs fellowship hall at the church, because the sanctuary was in ruins for months. Meanwhile, other churches were like, "Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?" over there in Houston, and we were here. And one by one, people started coming back to the city, and they started coming back to church. Well, here we are, 2020, 15 years later, and we've got this crazy thing called a pandemic. Well, this past Sunday, we reopened the church. As far as I know, we were the first Presbyterian church in the city to reopen the sanctuary for worship. And I want to give a big shout out to the leaders of the church, not just the elected leaders, but the other folks who lead people, who set examples for people by who they are and what they do. And they said, "We want to come back together. We want to be together. We aren't crazy people. We maintained social distance. Everybody had to wear a mask. Families could sit together, but otherwise we were spread out all over the sanctuary. We had 28 people in worship. Normally 30 to 40. So we were doing pretty good. But I want to tell you, not everybody has come back yet, and that's all right, because if you don't feel comfortable coming to church right now, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I want you to know that when you come back, church will be there. But I just give a shout out to wonderful leaders who just said, "We want to be together." In 2005, they said, "We want to be together," and we came back together. Here we are 15 years later, and we're still coming back together. And God bless the people who love each other so much that it means a lot to come together in worship. So, bless you and see you soon, and love you all.